What's up, Samurai? Welcome to another episode of the Casca Grossa Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Today I'm going to talk about this legend of the sport, Rickson Gracie, man. This guy is simply, in my opinion, the best of all times when it comes to Jiu-Jitsu and how he promoted through his whole life this great sport which became a worldwide phenomenon. Here we go. Guys, Rickson Gracie is a living legend of the sport. You know, back in the day, with only 18 years old, he was already the new face of the Gracie Challenge. You know, the Gracie Challenge, if you don't know, have a look on YouTube. You guys may already know. So he became the main defender of the family's jiu-jitsu. So basically, guys, the Gracie family had been preparing Rickson to the world his entire life. So guys, at the time in Brazil, there was a fighting style called luta livre, which means free fight. It was like a combination of, wrestling, ground and pound, and it was really popular in Brazil. It was considered one of the top fighting systems in the land. And Jiu-Jitsu, the Gracie family wanted to show Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was superior. So Rickson's cousin, Carlos and Rose, had carried out the baton through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But in 1980s, became Rickson's job to be one of the main guys in the family. So he took this job really seriously, He fought anyone who dared question the efficiency of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time. So the guys who trained luta livre and Jiu-Jitsu, they didn't get along at all, guys. So Rickson, they encountered a group of luta livre practitioners on the beach, and with their leader, so this guy's name was Hugo Duarte. They wanted to arrange a match between Rickson and Hugo Duarte, and Rickson said, we're going to resolve this now. We're going to fight right now. And he challenged Duarte to a fight on the sand. So you can actually see this fight on YouTube. It's a very rough recording, but you can see the whole scuffle on the beach. And so Hugo Duarte was reluctant. He didn't want to fight Rickson on the spot. But Rickson slapped him and the fight started. It was that huge amount of people, Jiu-Jitsu guys and Luta Livre guys. They just separated and there was only those two guys fighting. So guys, that happened on a Cucumber Beach, Praia do Pepino. So Rickson made Hugo Duarte to tap, from his strikes to the face. And after that, Hugo Duarte went to the beach, to clean up his face. He told Rickson he wanted a rematch at his gym. And later on, Hugo Duarte had his rematch and lost it. The Jiu-Jitsu reputation was saved for another day. Rickson saw that opportunity to prove his Jiu-Jitsu was the best, more dominant against the Luta Livre style. So he took this opportunity. So back in the days, guys, there was a very famous fighter known as a Rei Zulu. He was the Casca Grossa at the time. He dominated all the fighting events for years. And Rei Zulu said he was having trouble to find people to face him. And then he turned to the Gracie family to find his next match. Guys, Helio Gracie, he had been carrying the family's baton for a long time. So Helio Gracie had big plans for Rickson already. So he knew his son was ready to fight anyone. And he went and organized this big national fight with the best Luta Livre fighter, which would be a perfect match for Rickson Gracie. Again, guys, to prove the superiority of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style. So guys, the fight happened on 12th of November 1983 on an event called Martial Arts Night. Rei Zulu was a much bigger opponent than Rickson. Zulu faced and beat over 100 people before Rickson Gracie. And the fight was really a war, So Rei Zulu tossed Rickson around of the ring 3 times. And towards at the end of the fight, he was able to get a real naked choke and finish in the second round. 15,000 people showed up to the Maracanãzinho Stadium. And they were all there to see Rickson Gracie fighting. So Rickson, he became Jiu-Jitsu's invincible hero and also became part of Brazilian history. And then guys, in 1989, there was nothing else for Rickson to prove in Brazil. So he packed up and went to California where his brother Helio Gracie was working to open this new Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Torrance. So Rickson, Helio, Royce and Hoyler, they spent the days refining techniques, teaching students, promoting their style of martial arts. But in Japan, the country who actually, inspired the creation of Jiu-Jitsu, of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, was basically the last frontier for the Gracie Challenge, And then Rickson went to Japan in 1994, and he was invited to fight this event of 8-man tournament, Vale Tudo Japan. And he grabbed this opportunity straight away to represent his family, earn some cash. So pretty much Vale Tudo Japan was very similar to the UFC one. And in the first event, Rickson, he won 3 fights on the same night. finishing all the fights in less than 6 minutes, guys. In the next year, he returned to defend his title again, and he pretty much dominated. With his relentless fighting style, he captivated the Japanese fans. So Rickson, he was considered the modern day samurai, and people just loved him for it. And that's just a bit of a Rickson Gracie history here, and it's a lot more, you can check out on the internet. So Rickson Gracie always fascinated me, the way with his fighting styles. Growing up, watching all these fights, as a kid, was really inspirational for me. So I decided to make this episode and tell you a little bit about of his history. But it's a lot of things on the internet. You can see all his fights. But the main events, that's what I want to share with you. The main things that happened back in the day that made him a legend of the sport. All the little stories between his career and fights. Some of the details, that people may not know. So I just would like to share that with you. And we are getting at the end of this podcast, guys. And I want to thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Casca Grossa podcast. And I will catch you in the next one. Us. Almost forgot a very important thing. Please follow us on Spotify, Podbean. You can find us on iTunes as well. Just type Casca Grossa Jiu-Jitsu podcast and you'll find us there. Thank you very much, guys. See ya.